So I just started picking up the recording where we left off at.
Okay.
So what do you think about the situation here? I mean, I guess he had predicted that nothing was going to really work with the ceasefire here in the Middle East a couple weeks ago, last time we talked.
That's
And
what,
right after the ceasefire, Hamas started killing uh, people who were not even Israelis. They just killed people they identified as working with the Israelis and executed them in the streets and started executing other people and continued their reign of terror. I mean, with your expertise in the CIA and the deep state and everything else, I mean, what do you think? I mean, I think you called it pretty right on that it's not going to work.
it's never going to work. It will never work as long as you, in Gaza, uh, I was in Beirut back in 1970, 71. We used to go to Beirut as R&R from Laos.
Right,
It was beautiful. It was the most gorgeous. It was like Monte Carlo, but at half the price or a tenth of the price.
right,
But I was down in the strip. We were over on the West Bank. It, it, it just what they do is, they basically buy the children of they have they had child vest bombing school where families gave up a child, and they got
right.
paid. Matter of fact, Saddam Hussein used to put in $40,000 to any family that put up a child to be a suicide bomber, and learn to do that, and they were considered heroes of the country. It was a thing to have their picture with the vest on in your home. It
Right.
was it was
It's like
just
an honor for the family.
the most creepy thing that I've ever witnessed in my life. And you just got to realize that these people. I was just saying that there is no original thought. We don't have people. Einstein had two. The most brilliant man in the world had the fact that if you split the atom, you'll have an enormous amount of energy, and the theory of relativity. He had two original thoughts. The most brilliant man, probably, maybe in history. And it was. There's no original thought, and children are just look at the children that are coming out with these. They believe them to be original thoughts, but they're not.
They have no
They're
idea
they're
what
they're
original thought is. I mean, they
th-
more or less listen to TikTok and listen to their social media, and they, listen to other podcasts like ours, which I think is a good thing because they're listening to ours. But I mean, but they listen to other influencers and everything else out there, and they're not really coming up with any critical thinking or any
no,
original ideas or anything on their
there's
own.
there's
All
there
they're
is
doing is
no
just regurgitating the crap they hear.
thought process of logical problem solving, critical thinking. That is not taught in schools anymore.
No, it's not.
Uh, you are taught what to think, not how to think.
Right.
My mother, who was a double
Or how to react.
PhD, she was in basically with an IQ evaluation, and basically child behavior and in education. She had PhDs in all of those subjects. Basically, was a fifth grade teacher in a private school, and had her own business to teach high schoolers how to take the SAT test, and she made a small fortune off of that. She used to get people almost perfect scores because you learn to take the test. That's all it is. It's a test. Don't get all involved in it's any kind of anything other than that. And it just shows that truth. The word truth is it means opinion is now truth. How people feel is their truth. They have their truth. You have your truth, and don't confuse me with any facts. I don't want to hear facts. And that was what the reason that Charlie Kirk was hated by the left so terribly, because
Exactly.
he threw facts into their face and proved them wrong over and over and over again, that they were wrong. They just this what you're learning in college is worthless. And
Right.
it's
And he
and
basically
that's
wanted them to think on their own. He wanted them to, structure an
yeah.
argument to defend their own values and defend their own rights.
When the government sent me to college, they wanted me to get an ag degree, and I said, well, they said because an agriculture degree is a degree in common sense. That's all it is. It's the farming and agriculture and feeding people is common sense.
Yeah, that's my dad
And
got his degree in.
yeah, and it's it's the truth. Everything is based on just common sense,
It really is.
and and you get too involved with the philosophy. I always say that it's one of the things that's funny that I think is strange is we have thrown out of schools completely uh, 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 Roman and Greek mythology, but we totally embrace the mythology of Native American people as facts. I mean that the Lakota Sioux were in the Black Hills since time began. No, they weren't. That's no, they got moved there by the Ojibwa, and then they kicked out the Pawnee. But they have these creation stories that are are sacred to everybody. That we believe that those stories are sacred, but Greek mythology and Roman mythology, well, that's just all stories and made up. And it
Right.
wasn't. That's what they believe, just like what everybody has their creation stories, that they have to write them. And the most important people in the Native American tribes were the storytellers that would
Right.
tell
They were, yeah.
they would because they had very little written language. So they
Exactly. They
had to
sit
keep
around their peace pipe and tell stories around the fire, and that's
yeah,
kind of like the whole stereotype of the Indian evening and Indian entertainment between the
yeah,
dances and the stories and
and yeah,
everything else they're sharing
and
and
doing
pontificating about.
yeah, and it's just that we grasp on to certain things as
Right.
sacred and other things as, well, we have to toss that away. Well, no, there's a
Exactly.
reason for there's a reason for all these stories and these things, and there's there has to be, it's basically to to figure out how this all began.
Exactly.
How what why are we here?
Yeah. What's the
Uh,
purpose?
yeah. Yeah, what is our purpose? I
Well,
mean,
real quick, what's the purpose about Putin? And I mean, I guess Trump decided not to schedule a second meeting here with Putin, so Putin is testing or flexing his muscles here, his
yeah,
nuclear weapons and everything. But I mean,
well,
there's another ceasefire that's not really going to happen in the way
no,
that
it's well,
anybody thinks it's going to.
people have to realize one thing. What if Putin came in with billions of dollars, trillions of dollars into Mexico and set up military bases in Mexico? We'd be having a conniption fit.
Yeah, it would.
We couldn't stand Cuba being aligned with the Soviet Union.
Right.
That was horrendous. But we promised George H. Bush and the leaders of NATO all promised Gorbachev, if he does this, this, and this is what you'll get in return.
Now,
After a
unfortunately, I mean,
unified,
Putin is a big fan of the original mother state of Soviet Russia, and he wants to go. And I mean, I still think he just wants to go ahead and recreate what is not there anymore. And I don't think he has the manpower anymore to do it, nor the
no,
funds, because
he,
with all the sanctions that America is putting on everything,
the
Russia's running out of money pretty quick.
yeah, as long as China's buying their oil and gas, everything's great, and as long as
That's
Europe
probably
is
true.
buying it, because
China
that's
and
all
North
they really
Korea
have
are
for
funding
sale.
them pretty much.
That's all they have for sale. They've never been able to make a car that's worth a damn for some reason. Don't know why. They can make tanks, but they can't make cars. Yeah.
They make it
But
pretty good at some weapons.
what but one thing that was promised to Gorbachev and later Putin, then we rigged the election and got Yeltsin, elected instead of, and then flooded the oligarchs. We gave all the old communist, people that ran the communist businesses. We gave them the money to buy the businesses because we didn't want to actually compete against a capitalistic Russia. They were promised to have what was promised, and it's in writing and signed by James Baker and J.H. Bush and all the NATO leaders, that Russia's borders would return to their pre-1917 revolution borders. And that would mean there's no Ukraine
Right.
because Ukraine was just part of Russia.
But why
Uh,
let history get in the way of that?
Yeah. Yeah. So they promised all these things, and then they all of a sudden NATO is on Russia's border, and Putin saw that.
Right.
When Putin became president, he went to Bill Clinton and he said, "Look, why don't we just put an end to all of this? I'll join NATO. You can, and you, I will be your buffer against China because they're going to be a badass, outfit soon, faster than you think." And Clinton was fine with it. But our military industrial complex and the Democrats said no. We need Russia as that enemy, that
Right.
potential common enemy all the time. We have to have an enemy. How are we supposed to sell all of these military arms to Europe if we don't have the threat of Russia?
Exactly.
And even though we
Better for
think
business.
even though we think we're selling the arms to Europe, we're paying Europe to buy them. So we're just giving them to them.
Exactly.
Here in Pensacola, we train all their pilots here in Pensacola to fly all the jets they buy. That's what this is the cradle of all of the foreign governments that buy U.S. fighter planes. All of those pilots are trained right here in Pensacola. And it's the Navy is the lifeblood of Pensacola. They're trying to turn it into another San Diego, but who knows? It's busting at the seams right now. You wouldn't believe downtown what's going on. It's I don't know how we're ever going to control the traffic and everything here. Matter of fact, my wife and I are looking at greener pastures. We came here from California for the cost of living. One thing I'd like to say real quick, just so everybody knows, in 2008, the cost of Medicare for a retired couple, a person, was zero. No cost anywhere. No copays, no plan B, no anything. Now, two people on Medicare is $5,000 a year.
I mean, that was before Obamacare, though, right?
That happened right after Obamacare. They started charging for Plan B $58 a piece.
Right.
Now for next year, it's $206 per person. Takes out of your Social Security check, and it's taken by the government, and that pays for your Plan B.
But this is the health care that the Democrats want to reinforce as being health care for all and affordable and blah, blah, blah. That's the reason why we have the government shutdown right now.
Well, yeah, we have 15 million people in California on what they call Medi-Cal, which is Medicaid, which is free, totally 100% free. Not one dime do those people pay for their health care. Matter of fact, if you are at a certain, because they don't make enough money. If you don't make enough money, you can be on what they call Medicaid, Medicare, dual complete, and you don't pay anything. Everything is free. The only problem is, I have too much. I have too much money, even though I'm broke. my income, my incoming
Right.
income is if my wife and I were to separate, she could have Medicaid, Medicare, dual complete because she doesn't. Her Social Security is like $1,000, where mine is much more. Right now, people that make good money. If a person makes like $100,000 a year, they're going to retire on Social Security at about $6,000 a month.
Right.
It will be so if you have two people, you're going to be retiring at $12,000 a month. But of course, the government owes Medicare and Social Security $7 trillion that we pay interest on to the Federal Reserve, but we don't pay interest back to Social Security or Medicare. And Medicare and Social Security are going broke because you have all of that. You have people getting Social Security that never put a dime in. They're getting Social Security. They're getting Social Security disability or something. They're giving out Social Security to people that shouldn't have it.
And that seems to be the
It
hill that the Democrats want to die on here right now with this government shutdown. Why they're even talking about canceling or they might be running out of money for food stamps and SNAP and everything else for people
oh,
who
there,
actually are really in need of the food.
yeah,
And they
uh,
can't get it because the Democrats want to keep giving it to people who don't deserve it.
who don't we sit here with Social Security was a fantastic idea by FDR. Fantastic idea. The only problem is he let the government manage it. What would I always say? Do we let the government make our military products? Do we let our government
No,
build our jet airplanes and our tanks and everything? No, they're not going to have the government make anything, and they can't manage money. The government can't manage money.
no, they cannot.
Look, and the first thing that LBJ did was he dipped into Social Security to pay for Vietnam. He started the ball rolling, stealing from Social Security. And then when Medicare came in, it was just even more money. And there, now we have the bubble of my generation is now a bigger bubble, and the number of people actually working, uh, and paying into this big bubble isn't cutting it. And it's not, especially when you take, they still keep taking money out. They still keep, that debt, that intragovernmental holdings, they call it. And
Right.
it's over $7 trillion that's owed to Social Security and Medicare. And they're designated trust funds but there's designated monies going to each trust. That should be in everybody's, that Social Security should have been put in everybody's name, that
Right.
this is the money that you put in, this gets invested. But of course the government believes that investing that money in the government was,
Yeah. Well, what do you think about the idea here in Florida about them reducing the property taxes and everything else on
I'm all for that. My homeowner's insurance is going up 20% next year.
well, I mean, but how are we going to pay for local services that are already paid for by property taxes, like
I have
fire
you're gonna have to,
rescue, and
you're gonna have to get a tax somewhere. You're gonna have to do
you had to
something.
replace it.
But what they want to do is they are first offering it to retired people that are retired to stop, quit increase. See, one thing California had that was good was Proposition 13, which meant when you bought a house, your property tax was set on that price. You stay in your house for 20 years, your property tax does not move. You sell your house and it sells for 10 times what you bought it for. That next person starts paying property tax based off that price. That's why California is still actually at least treading water. Of course, Gavin Newsom just signed a bill to give reparations to all the descendants of slaves. So, to us in a state that never had slaves.
That's
You
a
know,
whole different conversation right there.
yeah, there's Gavin Newsom. There's California is just
Exactly.
15 million people on federal welfare. That would be the fourth largest state in the government in the United States. Pennsylvania has 13 million people. California has 15 million on federal welfare, and you all of the benefits and services provided to welfare people is produced by entrepreneurs in California.
Right.
So they're getting basically the business person in California, the real estate owners, and they get going rate. If a person lives in San Diego and he's on welfare, he could be in a $4,000 a month studio apartment, and the real estate guy is getting $4,000 a month for that from the federal government for Section 8 housing. There's no projects like they have in other cities. All of the Section 8 housing in California is privately owned
Yeah,
housing, real
exactly.
estate, and everything. The grocery
Especially
store.
after the fires going on. I mean, they're actually trying to confiscate a lot of the property instead of people being able to build their own private homes back. They're trying to make sure the government takes
Oh,
that property and then
and
builds some sort
multiple
of
housing.
housing project out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe that
Uh,
person could get it by eminent domain. They'll get a little bit of a fee for it, but they're not going to get their home back.
Pacific Palisades will become a multi-dwelling,
Housing project.
it'll be rebuilt and it'll be there will be a section that's given to going rate for rents will be given to Section 8 housing people,
Right.
but you will pay the $4,000 to $5,000 a month. The government will have to, and the federal government's got to come in and say, no, this has got to stop. We can't
Exactly.
be supporting 15 million people in California.
No, we can't.
And that's why I call this, when I came here in 2017, I infiltrated La Raza. Here I am, blonde haired, blue eyed, and I infiltrated La Raza for their, and I went from place to place ballot harvest, giving out $20 bills for ballots for La Raza. And I turned it in, and I had Jerry Brown actually come to me, say, we don't want your kind here in California anymore, even though I'd been there since 1961 and my wife had been there since 1956,
Right.
born there. And so we came to Pensacola. And I said that in Rotary. I said, I'm here because California doesn't want conservative people in California any longer.
No, they don't.
They will never have a Republican in a statewide election voted in. They'll have little enclaves, and they're trying to redistrict that completely out too, to
Yeah, they
where
are. I mean, they're
even
trying to
the
gerrymander it even more here against the Republican Party, which, I mean, you have a lot of
oh
districts already in California that have high Republican representation. I mean, higher Republican voters that are registered in those areas. The representation is lacking totally altogether.
it's because they bring in a strip of people that will vote Democrat.
Exactly.
That district all of a sudden it'll be this area, and then there'll be this other area over here, which are all Democrats and welfare people and stuff like that.
Right.
Basically, it's also even the Republicans. It comes down to
Yeah, I know. I mean, we talked about
the,
that on another podcast with another group of people, and I don't think this whole voter fraud is owned strictly by the Democrats. I do think
oh no,
Republicans are
oh
guilty as well in their own area to try to keep their own power. I mean, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, all this political structuring is all power plays and power games, and it's all being driven by the cronies in the back end anyway.
and the only thing I am glad about is that Pam and I don't have children. That's because I would hate to be giving this. Of course, my children would be 40 years old now, 40 or 50.
At
But
my
then
age,
they would have children, grandchildren. I don't have to feel that I've not done my duty in handing off this country in a safe and sound, secure way. No, we're broke. We're so broke. It's you can't imagine what $40 trillion debt. And the crazy thing is they can't even find out that the judges are stopping, and nobody's talking about this, but no audit of the Treasury for how much paper money is out there. We don't know. We have
we don't.
no clue how many US dollars are floating out in the world. So we haven't a clue. And and that's what's generating, of course, silver. Even I don't know what silver did today, but it took like a $3 drop. Somebody at the end of because motorcycle. Oh yeah, crotch rocket. Yeah.
We had some obnoxious people here in our
Oh
neighborhood, and I guess
yeah,
they'll call it the sound of freedom.
yeah. Sound
I
of
call
freedom,
it the
but that's
annoying sound of
no.
motorcycles.
The Blue Angels are the sound of freedom. The motorcycles are not.
It's
So
interesting how the hum of a motorcycle will stick in the air, although it is now almost a half a mile away.
oh yeah.
So, but just hangs in the air like that.
Yeah, and it's something about the fact that for some reason, maybe it's my upbringing, I don't mind the sound of a Harley as much as I hate the crotch rockets.
Exactly,
The
which is what those were. They little
yeah,
Kawasaki's.
they're just screamers. they just scream. You know,
Exactly. They scream until there's no tomorrow, and you just keep on waiting for them to go off into the distance in the nice country air,
yeah,
and which they, at this point here, they'll probably be doing in like another 45 seconds.
yeah. So it's and then I see these people all the time with that I know are motorcyclists that they've got bumper stickers. Watch out for motorcycles. I don't. I you know
You can barely see
I
the bumper sticker.
yeah.
How are you
Uh,
going to see the bumper sticker if you can barely see the motorcycle?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm sitting here, because I have to admit, I used to be, I had a hot Porsche when I was young, but I basically am a small SUV Buick driver now, and I basically drive 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. That's maybe what I get, but it's crazy. It's crazy. The drivers here in Pensacola, are crazy. I
Florida.
mean, they blow red. A big thing in California. That was one thing. You blow blow a red light, meaning you go in on the red. Bango. That was $1,000 ticket. It was, and if you really were really terrible about it, they can actually, get you for a felony of which basically you 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 put people's lives at risk if
Right,
you
exactly.
you blow through an intersection, just totally blow through it because you didn't want to stop.
Right.
And I see that happen here where, people just won't they that that 2 minutes at a light is too much for them to to handle. So,
Yeah.
but I tell you, the Chinese, thing is their plan is to rule the world.
I mean, it's a lot bigger than people realize. I mean, it's good that TikTok is not owned by China anymore. It's now owned by American companies and
Well,
everything. So
well,
that's a good
which is
thing, but I
funny
think the
is
damage has already been done.
yeah, which is funny though is that now the TikTok in China, if you actually look at what that is a very conservative, a very patriotic for China type programming,
Right, propaganda, yeah.
where the TikTok here is to totally, destabilize the culture of Americans.
I
Uh,
don't know. I mean, I would say with this, with my algorithm on TikTok, I get Jeff Foxworthy,
oh,
Donald Trump, Bela Fleck, a few musicians, bluegrass musicians, and friends of mine. So I don't really have this algorithm here of anything
oh,
anti-American
okay.
or anti.
I had
I don't have
no
anything like
idea
that on
that
my TikTok.
you could tweak TikTok like that because I don't put the app on my phone because I just don't want
Right.
I don't want access. Yeah, I have no banking. I know for a fact that one thing that people don't know is that if you have information on your smartphone, that a person that knows what he's doing can just walk
I
right
get
by
it.
you and take unless you have a Faraday wallet, take everything out of your cell phone and take it. All your everything, your bank accounts, all your passwords and everything.
I still think it's funny when I go to the bank and they ask me for my social security number and they say, "Well, just write it down. I don't want anybody to hear it." I'm like, who cares? I mean, everybody knows the social nowadays. I mean, there's no privacy whatsoever. I mean, if you're a fool to think that anything's private, you're a fool.
Yeah, there's it's crazy as with all of the data breaches, United Healthcare, every bank, every place, all of your information is out there. I mean,
Exactly. This
the
it's
thing
out there
is,
for sale and it's out there for use.
you have to make sure that one thing that you have a written agreement with your
Right.
bank that if your account is hacked by fraud, right, not by you but by fraud, the bank is responsible. And I left two banks that wouldn't agree to that.
Right.
Uh, so I said, fine. No, no, I'm not going to all of a sudden open up my bank account and have zero there. And you guys say, well,
Right.
we did our best.
Exactly. Who knows? Real quick, before we go here, I just want to ask you, when do you predict the government? I'm asking everybody on different podcasts this week and last week. When do you predict the government shutdown to be over?
Oh. I think I think it'll happen before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Uh, so I believe it. I
Who do you think
believe
will
that
cave first, Republicans or
uh,
Democrats?
no, the Democrats are going to cave. There's already Democrats talking about we got to get this back open. We can't have we can't have you know. Let me tell you, we're the grocery stores. Without SNAP, they can't compete against Walmart.
Yeah, the
They- they-
USDA is running out of money for SNAP, and the military is running out of money to pay the military. So I mean, it's going to be hurting a lot of people very quickly if they don't get their head out of their butt here and get this taken care of
I'll tell
quickly.
you one thing. Uh,
Yeah, I think it'll be over by next week before
when
November
it
1st.
could be, but it'll be before see what? Oh yeah, I'm 11/22 is my wedding anniversary. The day JFK was assassinated.
All right.
Uh, it was a Saturday when we got married.
You got married on that day?
Yeah, we got married on that day. It was the only day I ever saw my father cry. Was 11/22, 1963. He came to pick me up at school, and I had no idea. I was in the 7th grade. I had no
Right.
idea. I was in 3rd period art class, and I had no idea what was going on, and he was crying, and he worked with he my father was in Vietnam during World War II, training Ho Chi Minh in the Viet Minh guerrilla warfare, and he was an adamant, staunch, "Do not go there. You will lose. You will lose." And then that was that was don't. And he also was adamant about don't let the French back in either. And then
Right.
Truman let the French back in, and when we let the French back in, Ho Chi Minh tore up his. He was an OSS agent. He was his code name was Lucius. He was an agent of the OSS during World War II. He fought against the French and the Japanese because the French never broke away from the Japanese until we dropped the bomb.
Right.
It wasn't like France, where as soon as we took over Paris, the French all capitulated, and when we took Morocco and Algeria, the French all capitulated. But
Right.
in French
The Asian
Indochina,
theater is different.
Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, they stayed 100% aligned with the Japanese. An OSS Archimedes Patty went in there and blew up all the airstrips in Hanoi because the Japanese were attacking Chennault's flying tigers in China
Right.
from Hanoi. And my dad was there, and my dad was there because he can make a radio out of anything. I used to say he loved the TV show MacGyver because,
Oh yeah, I bet it would.
but he would always tell me, "No, that won't work. That
I was
won't work."
critiquing the show.
But he liked watching it, and that was like one of the only TV shows he ever watched. A few other ones. Oh, he always watched Ed Sullivan, and that was the things that we used to watch back in the day. We watched Bonanza, Ed Sullivan. I mean, and we watched the local and the nightly news. But that was only an hour and a half of news. We don't now. We have 15 channels with 24/7 news, and
Every
there's
day.
no way without making up stuff that you can fill it. So they just make stuff up.
Exactly.
They
It
just
is, and that's what we call fake news.
yeah, fake news. And it's you can't believe anything that you see. And AI
You need to
is
verify pretty much everything. You need to research, and that's actually what we go back to the whole critical thinking concept. Is that nobody knows how to really think about what really happened or read. They only want to read what their bias is about. They don't want to read anything against their bias. They don't
100%
want to read both sides of any argument whatsoever.
cognitive dissonance. They actually have the certain people that are so this way. They actually have mental pain when their brain is met with a contradictory thought. They actually have cognitive dissonance. Their brain hurts. You know, it. Well,
Wait a minute, more so to go by so I can hear you.
yeah. So yeah, their brains actually hurt. I mean, I see these people that are protesting. There are no king. What are you talking about?
But yeah, I was
No
gonna ask you
king.
about that. Oh no, it's ironic and very hypocritical that the No Kings protesters are supporting kings while they're against all the people who are trying to free them from the kings.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't really grasp that the Democrat Party is all about socialism and communism and control. Period.
Yeah.
I
And,
mean,
and the
at the
idea,
end of the
you know,
day, currently, this current Democrat Party is,
and
and they
if
do not
anybody,
care anything about freedom whatsoever.
if anybody tries to compare when somebody tries to compare anybody in today's US with Nazi Germany, I just go, you people
You
are
have no
whack.
idea what you're talking about.
You no idea because you don't know all of the people that were absolutely slaughtered, not just a race of people, but anybody that had a mental or physical or any kind of defect.
Yeah. The same way
They were
Hamas is doing it currently today to anybody who talks to Israel. I mean, the same way evil people kill evil people. I mean, it's not stopping, it's not changing. And whenever people don't wrap their heads around this, they actually have the freedom to protest and they actually have the freedom to speak their mind against the government and they don't go to jail. I mean, that there should prove that there are no kings here in
yeah,
America. I mean, it
yeah,
seems like there are no
they're allowed to
pro-kings.
do this.
It's like my
They're allowed
king.
to do
They
this.
want
So
their
there's
king, and that's it.
and it's really just grabs me, to because I first this is my belief that the culture of the United States is the US Constitution.
It
That's
is.
our culture.
Yeah,
I made an oath to defend the Constitution with my life if necessary on foreign soil in complete anonymity. And I wasn't declassified until my mother died, not knowing what I did. My father was involved in it, and when I told my dear wife, now will be of 39 years, in 2018. By the way, let's sit down. I got to tell you what, because this now is coming out that it's all been declassified. Tony Poe and our activities in Laos and everywhere, and our activities in South America, and what we did. It's all out in the open now. And this was me. This is what I did rather than. And I put two brothers through Stanford, one through NYU School of Medicine, and one through USC Law. With because the big thing was I wanted to join the army. My dad wouldn't let me. He's and he said, matter of fact, I need your help because you can make a whole lot of money doing what knowing
exactly.
I know what you can do. I know how good you are at doing things. You want to be in the military, but there's a pseudo military, a paramilitary where you stay a civilian, you get trained, and you have the best of the best. And that's why I hate the Benghazi thing so much, because those guys at Benghazi that were killed, they were my group. That was SOG. That was Special Operations. But
Exactly.
it used to be when I went in, they would take civilians. No, they don't. They don't. The fallout rate was too high. They just offer Navy SEALs or Delta Force guys huge amounts of money with ungodly pensions, to retire and come join CIA and be a special operation. The funny thing is Barack Obama in 2014, I think he did it so he could scrub the paper. He changed the name of the Special Activities Division to the Special Activities Center. And then there's of those, there's SOG, Special Operations Group, there's PAG, Political Action Group, and there was a whole bunch of other very. We had people. I guarantee you this, and this is scares people say, "Oh, you could." We had people in CIA that they would go identify at-risk young people, and they knew that you give me 6 weeks with that person, I'll have him kill his mother and father. And
Sad.
I believe that that's what's being done with these people that are becoming mass shooters.
Right.
It is people from that want to they want in more ways than you can believe. They want to disarm America.
Yes, they
So
do.
they're going to shoot up schools, and they're going to shoot up people. A kid just doesn't all of a sudden say, I'm going to go get a gun and come back to school. when I was in school, everybody had guns on all the pickup trucks had rifles in the in the
Exactly. Yeah.
1960s and 70s. Yeah, everybody had guns, and we all had all the third graders that were Cub Scouts had pocket knives in their pocket. They had a little card that says they've passed their whittling, arrowhead badge, and they had pocket knives. The schools would. Why did we not have carnage, all through all
Because we had a
through
different culture back then. That's
we
the
yeah,
whole thing.
it was
I don't
it was
realize. I mean, this is coming down to the culture. It comes down to the people who are, like you said, probably. I mean, you got the people who are part of the state training people to go ahead and, sabotage the entire stability of the government,
yeah,
stability of
we
our
had
communities.
of course, I was in grade school in Sierra Vista, Arizona, which was Fort Huachuca, Arizona, which was a huge army facility with a little tiny town. But every month we had Firearm Appreciation Day, where either the
Exactly.
sheriff or
I
the
remember that.
police or the army would come into the classrooms
Yeah.
of all the kids,
Teach you how to do it properly.
starting with at third grade, and they would bring in and they'd say, "This is," and the old saying was, "No matter what you think, every gun is loaded."
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's
It's just you
so
gotta have your mind, and know exactly how to use it properly and when not to use it.
yeah, and when you don't, but now you see kids, you know, playing with them, and it's or you go into a gun shop and somebody's moving around with the gun. Say,
That thing
you're
better not be
ducking.
loaded.
You're ducking,
Exactly.
and I'm really not into this Florida's open carry thing. I do not want to
Well,
be in a rest.
I think there's a lot of pros and there's a few cons.
Yeah,
I think a lot of
I
the
think
cons have to do with the gangs are gonna be open carrying, but then again, there
yeah,
already are. I mean, the fact is the people who already do it in a nefarious way are gonna do it anyway, and they
well,
already
you
have
can
been.
see. I think you make it a concealed carry only. So at least that's what I do. I mean, I take a gun with me. I have a Sig Sauer and a Glock that I take with me everywhere.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
but
actually do it openly.
the Sig Sauer's in a pocket, and I have a bag that I carry for all of with Jack, who's asleep here on the floor, and he's 18 going on 19 years old, and I'm not knowing what I'm going to do about because I actually have people that'll do that and then we'll stop it. I actually have people come to me like in Walmart, and I'll have Jack, my service dog, and he's just a little tiny thing.
Right.
And then they would say, "Why do you have a service dog?" Because they look at me and say, "You're healthy and all this." I said, "Well, you see, I used to shoot stupid people."
Yeah,
And I had to get Jack to keep me from continuing to do it. Jack reminds me I no longer do that, that I can't do that anymore. And they'll
exactly,
say, "Oh my gosh." And I say, "Look, it's working because I didn't shoot you." you know,
exactly. Yeah,
and
well,
so,
with that, we're gonna go ahead and call it a show here real quick,
yep, thumbs up
and,
on it. And
yeah, just go ahead and guys, please subscribe to our channel here. We're on YouTube, of course, Spotify, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and quite a few. Pretty much any platform that you listen to any kind of podcast on, we're going to be on. So please check us out. We're the Political Matrix News, and y'all have a good evening. Thank you so much for joining us, Liam.
thank you.